Hey everybody, this is Jared from ProPhoto. In this video I'm going to try to give you a quick overview of the ProPhoto proofing plugin, how it handles users and collections. I'll kind of try to cover both in this one video. This is made during the beta period, so things may look a little differently if you see this a few weeks or a month or so after it was made, because things are still evolving pretty rapidly, but the basic concepts should be the same. Eventually we'll get some more permanent videos and tutorials, but this will suffice in the meantime. So anyway, what you're looking at right now is just an example of a ProPhoto proofing gallery page, and users are basically a way that we save data to particular web users. Things like they're saving their cart, saving their favorite images, saving images in various collections, saving their shipping and contact information, saving comments they leave on images, stuff like that. All the data about the gallery that is specific to an individual user, say like a bride or a groom or one of your clients or a client's friend or family or whatnot, would be a potential user. When anybody views a proofing gallery, assume that they have access to it, and you can put it behind a password if you want. But if you make it public, or if you give somebody the password, then there's a handful of things they can do without creating a user, including just like I'm doing right now, which is browse the sort of thumbnail view. You can also see the large view and scroll through the different images. You can do stuff like see the image data as well. But anything where data would need to be stored requires a user. So that's things like leaving a comment or adding to the cart or setting an image as a favorite. And so if a user tries to take any of those actions from anywhere before they've created a user, it brings up the new user dialog. So I'll try to add this to my cart, but because I haven't created a user, it's going to prompt me and say, hey, look, in order to save your cart for you, we need to know who you are. So it prompts them for a name and then an email address. And just a quick word about this. We don't have passwords. We try to make it as simple for your clients and users as possible. So basically their email address is going to become the key that's going to identify them to the system. So this user will be stored in a cookie in their browser, and so every time they come back to this gallery or any other gallery, we'll remember that they put in their name and their email address. Now if the cookie expires or they use another browser or another computer, then it's going to ask them again, hey, who are you? And as long as they put in the same email address, it's going to pull down all their data, including whatever carts they have half created, images they've set as favorites, comments on images, all that sort of stuff will travel with them, and it's tied to their email address. So we think it's a pretty simple and straightforward way, and it sort of works around the need of having passwords. If you ever need to really be careful to restrict a proofing gallery, then you should put the whole gallery behind a password, make that page or the post itself password protected. And then beyond that, users are just tied to these email addresses. So once they submit that, then they'll be able to do whatever action they were trying to do. I was trying to add to the cart. So now that I've created a user, I can do that, and I can add this to the cart, and it's going to let me do that and view my cart and do all sorts of stuff. And if you look now, in the main view, it's going to show me over here on the left side that I'm logged in, and I have a button I could click to log out. So if I did that, just show you now I'm gone, and if I refresh the page, I'll have nothing in my cart. You'll see there's nothing over here in my cart, but I could log back in with the same password, or not password, email address. What did I write? That's what it was. And it will know who I am, and if you notice, it'll still have the same thing that was in my cart, so it had saved my cart. So anyway, the user is stored there. And the user is what is, if I were to submit my cart, or fill up my cart and make a payment, or just submit my cart, on the back side, if you went over to the orders screen, when orders come in, then the user details fill up stuff like the name and the shipping and contact information over here. That's all from the user. And that all carries with the user. If we've prompted them for their shipping and contact information for a cart submission, then we'll save that data, and anywhere they log in with their email address or anytime they're cookied in, we'll remember all that for them to try to make it as easy as possible for them to use your site. And by the way, users work across multiple different proofing galleries. So if you have multiple different proofing galleries that the same user has access to, then all their pertinent information, their name and email address, will travel with them. Any gallery-specific information, it also travels with them, but obviously if they go to a different gallery, then they'll have to have a new cart and new favorite images, and etc. And based on what gallery they're viewing, it's smart enough to bring up the right data for that gallery. So that's how that works basically. And then I want to show you a little bit about collections as well. Collections are a concept that it's similar to like a cart, except for it doesn't have to do with purchasing products, but just designating images to belong to various groups. So the most sort of common and default setup that we've done is by default we set up every gallery to allow images to be set as favorites. So right here we've got the default star, and if you click it, that becomes a favorite. Now, what a list of favorites is really just a collection called favorites. So they're basically, by clicking the star, they're adding images to their favorites collection. So now I have four that I've made my favorites, and you notice if I look up here, I've got this new option that I can show my favorites instead of showing all. If I click that, then I'll just see the ones that I designated as my favorites, or I can go back here like this. When I'm in full screen mode, then it's going to show me that I've indicated that this one is one of my favorites, and I can also make other ones favorite from the same view. So let's say I'm over here and I want to make that one a favorite, then that'll be a favorite down here as well. So now I have 5 favorites that I can view if I want to. I can also clear the favorites if I need to. Click that and they'll all go away. And I can also submit favorites. This is so that if you would like to know kind of what their favorite images are, or if you set up any sort of collection where you want to know what your users, what images your users have put in various buckets, that they can actually submit them. So if I click this submit favorites, then it's going to take a second and communicate with the server and generate an email to you that says, hey, somebody just submitted a collection of favorites. And then they can go on browsing, and if you come over to your orders page and refresh it, or click the link in the email, you'll notice that you have a new order, but it's a different order type. It's called a submitted collection, and so it says here's your submitted collection. The collection is favorites, and you can see the images down here, and you can view them larger if you want, and you can view some data about these images too. If I had taken time to put comments on any of these images, the comments would be displayed here under the download link. So that's what a submitted collection looks like from the back end. So that being said, collections are customizable, as almost everything else is with ProPhoto. If you come over to proofing settings, or you can go over here to products and settings, there's a page called collections. And you can set up a couple of different collections. We, by default, enable favorites, and we set it to have a star icon. But you can change this, you can erase it. If you don't want to use any collections at all, I'll show you how to make that happen in just a moment. But let's say, let's try to think of a common secondary collection you might want. You might want to also allow your customers to put images into a group that they want in their album. So I'm going to make another collection called album, but I'm not going to enable it by default on new galleries because this is going to be only for wedding clients. And I'm going to pick this little book-looking album icon, and then I'll come down here and click Save. Once I've done that, if I go to my edit gallery screen for the Jack and Jill gallery, down at the bottom you're going to see collections, and I have options to enable favorites or album. If you don't want any collection usable on a certain gallery, then just uncheck all of them. But let's say I want favorites and albums. I'm going to go ahead and click to enable that and update. And then when I refresh this page, then I'm going to have a new option here, which is my book icon to add stuff to albums. So let's say I take just a moment and I'll go through and add a few of these to my album. There's one. I also want this one in my album, and I'm going to make a comment about this one too. This is my absolute favorite. Save that comment. Go view a couple more of these. I'm going to add this to my album, and that one's already in. One more. And then when I come down here, you'll see now I have options. I can show my album or my favorites or show all. And I've got options to clear my favorites or submit my favorites and clear the album or submit the album. So I want to submit the album. I'm going to click that. It's going to communicate with the server for a minute and then tell me that it worked. And if you come back to this screen, then you're going to see these new this new collection comes in, and the images will load in the background. And again, I can see these, and you'll even see here's the comment that I left right there. This is my absolute favorite. So again, the collections are pretty customizable. You can have a handful of them on and use them for different purposes. We give you a bunch of default icons you can use. You can even, if you don't want to pick one of those, you have an even larger list that you can actually set a custom slug by going to this website, and there's about 400 icons you could choose from, and any of the ones on this page will work to be a custom icon for a collection. So that's a little bit about users and also about collections in the ProPhoto Proofing plugin.